Hey everybody, welcome back to Ramageddon. I'm Lee, and in this week's episode we're going to take a deep dive, an even deeper dive, down the galaxy hole, back to where it all began, to check out the OG Galaxy Warriors line. We're going to learn the inspiration behind some of the most iconic Galaxy Warriors characters, and learn a lot more about potentially the man who inspired the whole thing. So let's go.
In 1982, something massive happened in the world of boys' action figures. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe was released by Mattel, and it took the world by storm. They were 5.5 inches tall, which was a lot bigger than the standard 3.75 action figures of the time. They had action features, and they were built like huge bodybuilders, something we'd never really seen before. Along with playsets, beasts and vehicles, they became the world's best-selling toy. A small company named Sungold wanted a piece of that action. Now they weren't just going to bootleg Masters of the Universe characters and figures. They were going to make something that would be comparable with them, and they needed ideas. And so to find their ideas, they looked no further than to legendary illustrator Frank Frazetta. Now Frazetta had been around for decades by this time, and his artwork had set the standard for what high fantasy and sci-fi could look like. And I'm sure Frank's art had definitely influenced the designers at Mattel who created the Masters of the Universe characters. And even today, Frazetta's art is considered to be some of the greatest of all time. And what Sungold came up with was Galaxy Warriors. But instead of asking for permission, Sungold just took some of the art, like this 1966 Against the Gods, and just repurposed it for their own use. Now I guess if you're going to borrow art, you might as well borrow it from the master. Now at this point I'd like to give a big shout out to Fallon Porteous, aka Phallus, and his Bootleg Zones YouTube, and also sungold.blogspot for the invaluable resource that they've been over the many years for anyone interested in researching Galaxy Warriors and going down the galaxy hole. So pull up your leather boots, tighten up your harness, grab a weapon and a shield, and let's figure out how this line unfolded. And to do that, I think we need to start right at the beginning. So here we see Ra on the first released card. And on the back of this card we can see that it says collect the whole range of Galaxy Warriors and accessories. It shows 4 figures, that being Ra, Devil, Magnon, and Boltard. Now there were also 4 beasts released, and on the back of that box you can see the initial 4 figures. Now these 4 figures look like prototypes. They look like they have hard heads and there's extra paint on the harnesses, and they've actually mixed up the names as well. And we can also see the prototype figures riding on the prototype beasts. Now around this time Mattel was suing Remco over copyright infringement, with Remco even using the Master Universe name on the packaging. And Sungold may have feared that they were going to be next. And so Ra and Devil were removed from the initial lineup, Ra being similar to He-Man and Devil being similar to Skeletor.
So in a similar vein to Star Wars and Master Universe, I guess we could call this earliest release a 4-back card. And as you can see, there's 4 characters, and it does mention collect the whole range of Galaxy Warriors. And with that coming first, I think it's safe to say that there was originally just the 4 characters. Having removed Devil and Ra, then they've moved on to the 12-back and removed Ra and Devil. So that's the theory, is that this has just replaced the original lineup just to avoid a lawsuit. And so moving on and moving forward, this is what the line is. So for ease of following this video, I'm going to refer to the initial 4 figures and 4 beasts in that packaging as Galaxy Warriors 1.0, and as they move on to the 12 figures, then with new packaging, I'll refer to that as 2.0, just so 1.0, 2.0, keeps it nice and simple. Hopefully you can follow.
And so on this new 2.0 12-back card, we can see the 2 offending figures have been removed and 10 new characters added. Now Magnon and Boltard's line art is identical from the previous 4-back. So the next 4 characters have had their heads added to the existing line art, except for now the bodies are mirrored. And now these are all great representations, but unfortunately the quality is about to take a dip. And so I speculate that these 6 characters were added last because They're no longer using the previous art from the old 4-back, and as you can see, the artist wasn't quite up to scratch compared to the previous art. And this is quite a shame because these are great characters who aren't really being done justice. Now the back of the 2.0 Beast box shows us photos of the new lineup of figures which look to be prototypes with different paint schemes. Whereas on the 1.0 Beast box, all the figures and beasts are prototypes. And in their effort to remove Ra and Devil from the lineup, they have been replaced by Magnon and Boltard, even recreating this original photo. And so looking at Ra, we can see why Sungold may have wanted to remove him from the lineup, as he is quite obviously a He-Man clone. And so it really is a shame that Devil had to be removed. He is one of my favourite figures of the entire line. I really don't feel he looks a whole lot like Skeletor. It could even be argued that Magnon is quite similar to He-Man, but I guess having the helmet differentiated him enough for them to not be too worried. I'm a big fan of this helmet design. And so here's Boltard in all his glory, one of the survivors from the 1.0 wave, and him and Magnon are actually to be seen a lot more as the Galaxy Hole progresses. Tiger Man is a favourite of mine. Really love the orange, I feel like it really pops, and he has some great sculpting on his head and paint detail. It's probably just a shame they didn't put stripes on his body. Dino Man is a cool and unique figure. The green is something that he shares with Sahak, so I'm not sure who they are affiliated to, but great sculpting and fun figure. Thor's another great looking figure in the bright red, the red helmet. Interestingly, the face does seem to be quite similar to Devil. Anubi is a fun looking wolf character in the brown, and possibly influenced by the old arcade game Altered Beast. Sahak, the original Snake Man, Cobra themed, sharing the green body with Dino Man. Just a shame they didn't put a little bit more paint on the head to bring out the sculpting. Dragoon, another favourite of mine. I love the red, the white horns, awesome looking figure. Just a shame they didn't add a little bit more paint to the face just to bring out the details. Spikes is a very sinister looking figure with his black skin and no face under that helmet. But interestingly, going back to the Frazetta well, I think we can find the inspiration for this figure. It is this 1972 painting named Atlantis. And when we look closer, we can see that that definitely is the inspiration for Spikes. So Triton here is one of the few normal human looking characters. Rather stoic in appearance, quite plain. But there's a little bit more to this guy than meets the eye. It's thought he's based on John Carter of Mars, and looking at this Sword of Mars from 1974, we can see that they do share a lot of similarities, and Frank Frazetta apparently modelled John Carter after himself. And Huck, the last human looking figure, very cool Viking style, and with the horned helmet, big red beard. Look at that beard. For inspiration, look at this picture here called Snow Giants from 1967. Conan battling snow giants, and we can see in the background that that definitely is where they got the inspiration for Huck. And last but not least, we have Yig. Now I'm not quite sure what beast he's supposed to be. Interesting looking character, the horns, the ears, the muzzle. But for inspiration, this isn't Frazetta. He's been found to appear in this Visions of Tomorrow book from 1976. So looking at the illustration on the card art, we can see a warrior to the side there, and that has been taken from this picture named Warrior with Ball and Chain from 1973.
Now, much to my own shame, I don't even have all four beasts as much as I would love them. I've just never come across the dinosaur, and he goes for pretty hefty money on eBay, so maybe one day I'll find him. In fact, in the meantime, I've had to have a substitute, which is this, what is it, the Land Before Time T-Rex. If anyone out there's got one, hit me up please. I would really love to complete the line of beasts. I mean, I do have the other three, and I mean, you know, these things are glorious. Just not having a dinosaur, there's a hole in my heart that I'd love to fill. So I'll keep my eye open, and hopefully I can rectify that one day.
Now the beasts from Galaxy Warriors all came in the same package, which states the fearful beast from the planet Fero. So that gives us a little insight into the name of the planet that the Galaxy Warriors world is based on. And as you can see, they were all sold in a 2-pack with a beast and a figure, and it was a random assortment with which figure would be included. And so looking at the packaging on the beast box, we can see a wee image here with a few characters on it. The first one being ripped from this Conan painting named The Destroyer from 1971, and the second main part, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is from this painting from 1979. On the 1.0 packaging, we see the prototype of the dinosaur, which has changed slightly for the production figure. And so this piece named the Mammoth from 1974 is clearly the inspiration. Started out as the elephant and then was changed to the mammoth, and here is the final production figure. And so Frazetta painted a lot of tigers and saber-toothed tigers in his art, and we think this one here may be the inspiration for the tiger. See the prototype, and here is the final production figure. Now the horse shown on the 1.0 packaging was never actually produced, and what we did receive was actually a bootleg from a company named Breyer. And we didn't have to look very far to find the inspiration for this. On the Beast 2.0 packaging, we see the final production beasts and also the new 12 figures introduced to the line. This super rare Galaxy Warriors accessory pack is interesting for many reasons, but one of them is we actually get to see an expanded view of the Galaxy Warriors card image. Galaxy Warriors can be found with 2 types of harness, the sun harness and the square harness. There's a few different types of shields available, and of course only 4 weapons. So this rather deadly looking axe is very interesting and can be found in the Death Dealer pictures. So once again they've gone to Frank Frazetta for inspiration. This next battle axe was taken directly from Frazetta's art, and here we see it in the Apparition from 1969, identical. I'm quite a big fan of this saber, and we can see this in various Frazetta paintings. This next gorgeous looking sword can be found in the Frazetta painting Bloodstone from 1976, the year I was born. So a shield with a bird on it can be found in a few Frazetta paintings, Death Dealer and various other imagery. Now this next particular shield got a lot of use through all of the Galaxy Hole, and I think we've found the origin from the brain in 1976. I think that's safe to say that is the shield. I cannot find an origin for the Panther shield, but that was originally included with Ra and is still very cool. So a lack of media with Galaxy Warriors meant that kids were free to use their imaginations. And thanks to AI, I've taken some photos of my figures, and you can now see the kind of things that I imagined for the Galaxy Warriors world. So I'm just going to quickly talk about some of the variants that you might find in Galaxy Warriors. As you can sort of tell, they all share the same body, but there are 2 different types of boots and 2 different types of gauntlets. So you can see here we've got the bands. This is one style here. And then the other one is with the domes. And the figures can come in a variety of those. Now here's another example of that. As you can see, this Triton has the domes, the bands, and the boot styles that I was talking about is this V-cut boot here, and then there's the flat cut. And so most of them were produced in a variety of styles, even a bit of mix and match. And so here's 2 different types of Tiger Man that I have. One having the bands, one having the domes, the 2 different types of boots here. Except for this one here, I don't know if this camera will pick it up, but they actually do have different head sculpts. This one is a little bit smaller and slightly different paint detail. So that is another thing. I'm not sure which, because marking wise they're the same. They've got Sungold written on the back. Some versions have it written on the leg, which people think is the very first release. But then I also have some with it written on the leg and on the back. So I'm not quite sure why that is. And secondly, if you look online and find carded versions, you will see them the same character even with a different assortment of weapons. So I don't think there's any true weapons that go with them. Other than the 1.0, which I think they're fairly well defined, the rest just seem to be a bit of a mix. And so in these two examples of Sahak, this one here has the V-cut and the domes, flat boot and the rings. I think this discoloration is just due to age, not 100% sure. But these two also have quite different heads. You can tell this is a lot wider paint wise. This one is probably nicer actually. The eyeballs are painted. This one's lacking a lot of paint, so look out for that. Now looking at Yig, here's a couple of different Yigs. You'll notice this one has the Sungold production stamp on the leg, but it also has it on the back. This one only has it on the back. But looking at the heads, you can sort of see that this one here has much larger horns. I feel like the head is slightly bigger, and this one has a little bit more crisp detail on the back compared to this guy. But one funny thing about the paint on this one, if I'll zoom in so you can see those eyes. Oh yeah, some crazy eyes. So here's another variant, one of my absolute favorites in the whole line, Dragoon. Now, firstly, yeah, if you look at these heads, you'll notice this guy's horns are a lot more bent out. The head is actually like noticeably larger. So that's interesting. And production wise, what have we got? So we've got Sungold on the leg, Sungold on the back. So it's probably to do with when they were produced. And the last thing to note is that I have noticed with a lot of my figures that the flat cut boot and the bands seem to be much more common combination than having these mixed up. So the bands with the V-cut seems to be a bit rarer. So normally you'll find the V-cut and the domes and the rings and the flat cut boot, but you will also find variations on this. Sometimes I wonder if Galaxy Warriors had had TV commercials, comic books, or even video games to showcase these amazing figures and get kids hyped about buying these and adding these to their collections. On a distant galaxy in the planet Farah, a battle for the universe has begun. Led by the fearless Magnon, the heroic warriors fight for control of the galaxy. But the evil Boltard and his ruthless warriors will stop at nothing to conquer and rule the galaxy. Collect the whole range of Galaxy Warriors figures and accessories to decide the fate of Farah. New Galaxy Warriors by Sungold. Collect them all.
So the next step in the Galaxy hole is naturally Galaxy Fighters. Unfortunately, I also don't have all of those complete. There is one figure that I'm missing and one beast, which would be the horse. So again, it would be nice to make the video and have them all, but the one in question is Robic, and if you know, he is crazy money. So let's just see. Maybe I'll be able to find him before then. But if not, that won't stop me. Like, there's plenty of images out there for him. So that's coming soon. So keep your eyes open for that one. Now, I do have a lot of other toy lines that I'm passionate about. You can probably see behind me. There's all sorts of things going on. I would like to focus some more on those and showcase them to you. And I do quite enjoy doing a little bit of custom work and some repairs and touch-ups and things like that. So Castle of Doom is still it's a work in progress. It's coming along. So if I get a little bit of maybe support or encouragement, that might speed that process along. And I just appreciate everyone that's here along for the ride. And if you want to check out this video or this video, that would help me a lot. And we'll see you on the next one. Come with me on a trip down the galaxy.